At the last Republican debate in Tampa, Florida, this happened. A plane flying over the venue trailing a banner that read, "Where is the real birth certificate?" This also happened at the Ames, Iowa straw poll last month, only instead of an airplane, it was a billboard carrying that same message, "Where is the real birth certificate?" in all caps, naturally. If you thought the birthers were gone, if you thought conservatives were over this thing about President Obama's birth certificate, they are not. At least the hardcore birthers at WorldNet Daily are not over it. They're the ones who are paying to fly the all-capital letters real birth certificate banner over major Republican events now. You can read their own coverage of their continuing birther crusade at their website today, right under their exclusive expo they, that President Obama's Social Security number has been revealed as a fake. And that's right under their crack reporting on how they have proven that, by definition, being a liberal means you are mentally ill. So yes, WorldNet Daily is still around. They will be around still trying to make a buck off the more gullible elements of the conservative base, I think, for quite some time. They've been around for a long time, even before they got onto the birther thing, though they have always been on the conspiratorial ragged edge of the right wing. In 2006, for example, WorldNet Daily's crusade was that the U.S. military would never succeed in our post-9/11 wars unless we treated those wars as more of an actual crusade. Here's a WorldNet Daily interview with a counterterrorism expert in 2006 who told them, quote, "Muhammad's mindset is a source for terrorism." Muhammad, as in the Prophet Muhammad, quote, the United States and an increasing number of other governments are beleaguered by an expanding array of states, groups, and individuals whose goals and actions and norms are animated by Islamic values. It's not terrorism that is beleaguering the United States, it's Islamic values. Having Islamic values, being a Muslim, that is the threat. Since the Prophet Muhammad himself, his mindset is a source for terrorism. That's the kind of stuff that WorldNet Daily was pitching before they were pitching the birth certificate thing. Spencer Ackerman's scoop at Wired.com tonight is that the Muhammad's mindset is a source for terrorism guy from WorldNet Daily is now doing training for the FBI's counterterrorism officers. In July last month, or in July of this summer, Spencer had reported that FBI trainees were being taught things from the weirder edge of the right-wing anti-Muslim fake expert movement, with training materials saying things like, Islam transforms a country's culture into 7th century Arabian ways. There was an instruction to FBI trainees that the Arabic mind is, quote, swayed more by words than by ideas, and more by ideas than by facts. Which is the kind of thing you sort of expect to hear from your racist old uncle after a few too many cups of eggnog at the family event. It is not the kind of thing you expect from the nation's elite federal counterterrorism force at the FBI. The FBI responded to Spencer's story in July by saying, quote, this presentation in question was a rudimentary version used for a limited time that has since been replaced. But it turns out there's more, with Spencer Ackerman now reporting on another set of FBI training materials dated March of this year, bylined by the aforementioned Muhammad's mindset guy from that WorldNet Daily interview. His chart for training FBI counterterrorism officers showing how over time, since the founding of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, over time, the more pious and devoted you were as a Jew or a Christian, the less prone you were to violence. But as Spencer put it, as time goes on, the followers of the Torah and the Bible move from violent to nonviolent. But that is not so for devotees of the Quran. See that bottom line that just goes straight to the right? That shows that over time, religiously adherent Muslims stay as violent as ever. In other words, as Spencer puts it, religious Muslims have been and always will be agents of aggression. Joining us now is Spencer Ackerman, senior reporter for Wired magazine. Spencer, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations on the scoop.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Any sense of how widespread this training is or whether this is an isolated incident?
The FBI, as you might be surprised to know, decided they didn't want to really tell me that. What they did tell me is that this was training that agents who had 2 to 3 years of experience in counterterrorism have gone through. And they said to me that this is just the opinions of this one particular author who you introed very well. We're still trying to find out the extent of this training.
I don't want to ask you, of course, who your sources are, but why do you think someone is getting you this material from FBI training? Is it because this is upsetting people inside the FBI?
It's very deeply upsetting to counterterrorism experts inside the FBI. They're very concerned about two related issues, which are counterterrorism and civil rights. And those two go hand in hand because, as you remember, the great Jimmy McNulty said on The Wire, a cop isn't anything without his sources of information. And unless there's community buy-in in American Muslim communities and other communities around this country, law enforcement can't do its job. It can't learn about what's happening, and it can't be alert to threats. And if millions of American Muslims feel that they're being treated by the FBI like they're a target to be watched for aggression instead of Americans whose civil rights are to be respected and protected, they're not going to cooperate with law enforcement. And that's what very dedicated counterterrorism professionals inside the FBI are very disturbed by these briefings about.
Hearing that reaction is coming from inside the FBI is actually comforting if you are worried about the content of this material. Do you think that when I summarized that in that introduction, did I summarize sort of the worst of this, or is there more that you have uncovered or that you've been uncovering about this training that is even more sketchy?
There's tons. There's dozens of pages of documents that we've acquired at Wired.com, stuff that talks about Muhammad as a cult leader, stuff that talks about obscure passages in the Quran as being weird guideposts to aggressive behavior, stuff that talks about an obligation to give charity in the Muslim community, as millions of Americans do, as being simply a mechanism to fund combat. There's a lot of stuff here that I think a lot of people will find disturbing.
Spencer Ackerman, senior reporter for Wired magazine. Spencer, thanks for letting us break this on TV tonight. It is your scoop, and we're glad to have you here to help us cover it. Appreciate it.